What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Braggin Rights. It's been a while. Not gonna lie, it's been a while. I've been busy. Guys. But I'm back. New day now. New day. Sunday, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I believe we were on Thursdays, if I'm not mistaken. I switched over to Sundays because I think it's going to be better for the college football season coming up, because college football happens on Saturdays, and Sundays will be a good raw reaction from the Saturday's game. So that's why we kind of switched it over to Saturdays. I think it's going to work out better. So we're going to get some nice raw reactions, because, when you're coming off a great win, man, you're pumped, you're ready to go. You want to get that reaction of, let's go, we're going to have a great season. Or you have a stunning loss, or a come from behind loss, upset, just something that you're just like super you're not in the mood to talk, but you need to talk about it. And that's what we're going to be here for. Sunday nights, stuff like that. A great win. You want to you want to get in the comment section and brag and release your joy and your energy, or a terrible defeat, and you want to kind of release that pent up anger and just you're upset. And I get that, and that's why we're switching over to Sundays. I think it's going to work out really, really good for the college football season. I am going to have a special guest on. I call him Keo, but he also does other shows here on the NBS Central Network, so I can't wait for him to come on and join. Me and him have a really good chemistry when it comes to live shows, so I really enjoy doing these live shows with him. I don't mind doing them by myself. I'm comfortable. I love it. I love talking college football. Not gonna lie, obsessed. That's why I started this. And while I'm at it, I might as well plug my YouTube channel, Gold and Blue Dude, guys. If you haven't, go check it out. College football videos every single day, because like I said, I'm obsessed. So I'm doing that. I'm doing this. Whatever platform I can use to get my obsession of college football out, I'm going to use it. It's going to happen. So that's why I'm here. And I don't say this enough, but I'm going to say it now. I appreciate these guys. Y'all don't realize the hard work it takes to do a brand like this, to do a YouTube channel, all that stuff. You just, and that's not a knock on you guys. You just don't understand. It's hard work. It's consistency. And this brand is all about hard work and consistency. So I wanted to give a shout out to all the guys, all the shows that come onto this network and put out great shows week after week, day after day. So I appreciate you guys. This is a great brand, and I'm proud to be a part of it. I really am. So a couple of things we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the transfer portal. You know what? A lot of people are for it, and a lot of people are against it. I'm kind of in the middle. I'm like, it is what it is. I'm not like, yay, I love it, or I hate it. I'm not really on either side of that. I'm just like, it exists, and you can't control it. Whoever wants to transfer is going to transfer. They're going to go wherever they see an opportunity. The smaller schools will benefit from it, but also the smaller schools will suffer from it at the same exact time. It's crazy. The transfer portal is crazy. I can specifically talk about the frustrations of the transfer portal, because my team, West Virginia, got hit pretty good this past offseason, especially on defense. Our quarterback, Drayshawn Miller, he transferred to Auburn. And then the number one returning safety in the nation was Tyke Smith, our safety. He decides to transfer to Georgia. Can't really blame him, because Georgia picked up our defensive backs coach Aday, and they had a really good relationship. And Georgia said, hey, our secondary is not going to be very good this year, so we will most definitely be able to feature you, and you will be on a potential national championship caliber team. The spotlight's going to be on you. You'll be able to bump up that draft stock. You're going to have the limelight. You're going to be in the SEC. You're going to be playing for Georgia. You're going to be with your old defensive backs coach who came over to Georgia. So I cannot blame Tyke Smith for transferring over to West Virginia. So I'm okay with that. I am 100% okay with that. So we will be talking about the transfer portal. We will be talking about the scheduling of the 2021 season, the spotlight games, I should say. We're going to talk about Georgia's now or never. This is the now or never year for Georgia if they're going to win a national championship. This is it. Let me check my settings real quick, guys. All right, we're good. But first, I'm going to talk about playoff expansion. A lot of people for it, a lot of people against it. Here's the thing. I think it needs to be done now. The problem with the College Football Playoff Committee is they like to take things in baby steps. They don't like to get it right the first time. They want to, okay, let's see if this next step works. Let's see if this next step works. They're not willing to try the step that could be the right step right off the bat. They're not willing to make mistakes. They're willing to drudge and slowly. Maybe one day we'll get there. And I think they're going about it the wrong way. I think right now, expand to 8 teams right now. Personally, I like the 10-team setup because it would give those higher seeds a bye. I think buys in the playoff system would keep those teams that know they're getting to the playoffs more engaged towards the end of the season, knowing, hey, we're still playing for a 1 or 2 seed, trying to get that bye. And at the same time, let's do some home field advantage. What's wrong with home field? Why does college football steer away from things that the professionals do well? Home field advantage is not a bad thing for the playoffs. In fact, it's one of the most electric atmospheres you will find, and you will still make the money. First order of business, get rid of the bowls as far as related to playoffs. The bowls and the playoffs need to be separate. Whenever they came out with the playoffs, I was excited, but at the same time, I was confused. I was like, so why are we including bowls? Bowls and playoffs should be separate, and a revolving door of bowls. Keep them separate. Keep those bowls for the teams that didn't make it, and that's still a great accomplishment for the teams that didn't make the bowls. So, yeah, I've never understood the bowl thing as far as why they included the bowls as part of the playoffs. That makes no sense to me. All I'm hearing is money, money, money. Well, guess what? I would think you would make more money if you kept them separately, because you would be making money on the bowls and you would be making money on the playoffs instead of, combined. So I think the money excuse is stupid, is dumb, and it makes no sense. Keep them separate. It makes sense, and you'll make more money. Just do it, playoff committee. Do the right thing. Expand playoffs and get the bowls out of the playoffs. It makes no sense. All right, so it looks like my boy, Keo, he's on. I call him my special guest host, but really, he's more than a co-host. This guy is the glue to this network. He is the absolute glue. So, on my show, yeah, technically he's a co-host, but on this brand, way more than a co-host. What's going on, man?
I'm finally back on, man. Trying to get the news schedule right on Sundays. Braggin Rights is on every Sundays moving forward from now on. During this time, just to warm up for the college football season. And yeah, man, I'm ready to talk some college football. I don't get the opportunity to talk sports that much nowadays because, I am on NBS. Let's talk about it. Shout out to my co-host Saray and the sports junkie. But I'm ready to talk some football, some college football.
Well, you know me, man. I'm obsessed with it. So I'm going to transition out of this topic as far as the expansion goes. But I just wanted to ask you one quick question about it. Do you agree or disagree about the keeping the bowls and the playoffs separately? What's your quick take on that?
um, yeah, I think right now the way they have it right now, it's fine the way it is. Um, like for me, I don't think that, let's say a team make it to the playoffs and they're playing in the Rose Bowl in the national semifinal game. It just takes away from the me as a Pac-12 fan. Even though my team on even years that my teams don't make it, which is USC, I do always enjoy the Rose Bowl, no matter who plays between, if it's the Big Ten against the Pac-12. So I just think they should keep the tradition alive when it comes to it. I think they just should just call it the national semifinal game, and then afterwards they could you call it the national championship game, how you normally would call it. So I don't think you should change it at all.
How about that, man? Just simple. It's almost like the playoff committee like overthought this. Now they overthought it to the point where it doesn't even make sense now. Like the Rose Bowl has always been the Pac-12 versus the Big Ten, always. But then they decide to include it in the playoffs some years, but some years not. It, I've never thought of it that way, but that makes perfect sense. And see, that's why I'm glad that I bring you on here, because you bring the perspective of the Pac-12 nation, and bring some thoughts that maybe I would not have thought of. So that was perfect insight, man. I appreciate that. All right, so let's get away from the playoff expansion and let's jump into the transfer portal. So a lot of coaches are for the transfer portal and a lot of coaches are against it. Now, whenever it first came out, a lot of people thought that, all the lower tier schools would be the biggest beneficiaries, because their mindset was, all these great teams, Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Oklahoma, Georgia, whoever, have a ton of talent, but some of that talent doesn't get playing time, but they're still 4 and 5 stars. So with the transfer portal, people were thinking, we have these high caliber players that aren't going to get playing time, but now with the transfer portal, they can transfer to maybe a lower caliber team to where they would get more playing time. But it hasn't quite worked out that way.
Yeah, it hasn't. The biggest thing that pops out to me the most when I look at the transfer portal is the amount of players that's transferring out of Tennessee. I don't know what's going on with Tennessee. Maybe nobody wants to play there anymore, or it's not the way it used to be. But that's the one that has caught my eye the most when it comes to the transfer portal. For instance, I think one of the top players that people should look out for is Henry Tutu,
Yep.
a linebacker from Tennessee. He goes to Alabama, like they need any more help. So that definitely helps them also. And another team that I would also say that two key guys that they got from the portal. One of them was Wayne Morris, offensive tackle from Tennessee, like I said. And the last guy that I see on there is Eric Gray. Yeah, Eric Gray, running back. I guess he looked really good in spring training, and he bumps him up to a RB to first on the depth chart. Most likely, he's going to be a starting running back when the season starts, and that definitely helps out some like a quarterback like Spencer Rattler and what they're trying to run over there. So I think that's huge from what I've seen so far from the transfer portal.
Oh yeah, not necessarily every year, but for some reason this year, the transfer portal has actually benefited the higher tier teams. You see Alabama, getting Tennessee's leading tackler. You see Georgia getting West Virginia's best. Well, actually, not just West Virginia's, but the nation's #1 returning safety in the nation. Now, it's not like this every year, but for whatever reason, this particular year, and then you mentioned Oklahoma, this particular year, players are looking to jump to teams that are in contention, even if maybe they might not see as much playing time as they would on another team. But I do think Tyke Smith is safe on Georgia because their secondary was trashless last year. And the guy from Tennessee transferring over to Alabama, he's actually a good fit as well because Alabama is kind of slim on the linebacker position. So they found a good spot, a good fit on a team that just happened to be, in the national spotlight right now, both of those guys.
One more guy I wanted to bring up, a guy that people should not sleep on. This team, they have been an embarrassment for the past couple of years, and I hope they get brought back to prominence because I like this team, man. And I'm talking about Florida State. Florida State also got a huge transfer in Mackenzie Milton. Mackenzie Milton was a quarterback that was on the rise. I think he went down with an injury a couple of years ago. Yeah, so I think Mackenzie Milton going to Florida State, which is huge. Some people, for me, I would consider that a high-profile name. I was literally about to bring up Tyke Smith, man. I think that's a huge loss for you guys. It definitely helps Georgia out because the dude had a great campaign in 2020. I think he made it to the All-American team. I think it was second or third. So that's definitely huge for a team like Georgia.
Well, here's the thing with Tyke Smith, though. Tyke Smith was an unexpected blessing for West Virginia because people forget what happened to West Virginia last year. KJ Martin, top 5 returning safety for West Virginia, said that our defensive coordinator, Vic Koenig, said some things that was never proven or disproven. But anyways, the university and Vic Koenig decided to part ways. And then after that happened, KJ Martin decided to opt out of the 2020 season. And, West Virginia was like, man, our defense is going to be trash now because that was our best player. Well, in comes Tyke Smith, and he has a spectacular season. So I'm not trying to downplay the loss of Tyke Smith because that's a great, and I mean great pickup for Georgia. The way that dude sees the field is crazy. He's not the most athletic person, but his eyes are just crazy. They're awesome. But for West Virginia, we're going to be fine at safety because KJ Martin will be coming back. And people have forgotten about him. KJ Martin had a great season in 2019, and he was looking to build on that in 2020. Then the Vic Koenig thing happened, and in comes Tyke Smith. He has a great season. He transfers out. KJ Martin is back. So I'm not worried about our secondary as far as that goes. I'm more worried about our quarterback position because Drayshawn Miller went over to Auburn. But with Nick Troy Fortune, I think West Virginia's defense will be fine. We're going to take a step back, but last year we were elite. 5 weeks out of that 10-week schedule, we were #1 in defense. So you gotta keep it in perspective as a West Virginia fan. Yes, we will take a step back on defense, but taking a step back from elite doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be bad. You can still be, top 20, top 15, and that's still a good defense. I think we're going to be fine. So what I want to talk about next, we're gonna transition. We're gonna transfer out of the transfer portal. How about that? And we're gonna talk about some of the big games in 2021, man, I don't know about you, but I can't start talking about big games soon enough. Like as soon as last year's season was over, I was wanting to talk about the big games coming up for this year. So for me, this is my bread and butter. I love looking forward to the big games of 2021. So I want to hear the games that you're most looking forward to in the 2021 season, because the big thing is non-conference games are gonna be back. And last year, the only non-conference games were FCS, and then we had the BYU situation. The Independents, that I don't really count Independents as non-conference because they don't belong to a conference. So true non-conference will be back this year. I'm excited. What you got, man?
I think the first week of college football, opening week, I think that one, the whoever made the schedule, they gave us a really good treat this year in college football, man. Especially for the first week, you got
Yep.
we got what was that? Alabama against Miami.
Yep.
I think that's going to be really interesting. Miami got a couple players returning. Alabama, they lost a good amount of players on the offense and defensive side. But one thing about Bama is they always reload. I want to see. I heard a little bit about their new quarterback. I want to see what he actually could do, especially on the big stage like this. So I think that's going to be really interesting. What he could be able to do. The next game that I see that's on the schedule right now is I think Clemson plays Georgia, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah, I'm going to be at that game in Charlotte, actually.
Yeah, that game is going to be really interesting, man. Clemson and Georgia. This could actually determine a lot of things this year, man. It could give one of these teams a huge advantage this year. Moving forward to start and kick off the season. So both teams, a lot of expectations for both of these teams. Georgia, a lot of pressure on them this year once again. Clemson, they lose, the great Trevor Lawrence, no Travis Etienne. They lost a couple players on the defensive side. Obviously, they still have Dabble Sweeney over there. So I think they're both of these teams. I think they're still going to be a really good team. But I want to see how these teams play, man, because this looks like an actual playoff matchup. Georgia versus Clemson.
Dude, I agree. I think this is the one non-conference game that I say will directly affect the college football playoffs. In fact, I'll go out on a limb. Whoever wins this game will make the playoffs. I have no doubts in my mind. Whoever wins the game between Georgia and Clemson will make the playoffs. That's how important I think that game is. And here's the thing. As far as talent-wise, I think Georgia actually has the edge. The offense is the most loaded offense that Kirby Smart has ever had. The defense is experienced. Last year, their secondary was their weakness. Well, a lot of that weakness is gone, and they brought in Tyke Smith from West Virginia, the #1 returning safety. So as far as talent, Georgia has the edge. But on the other side of the coin, when it comes to coaching, Clemson has a massive advantage. I don't think Kirby Smart's a very good coach, and I've gotten a lot of criticism for that. But the thing with Kirby Smart is he's a great recruiter, right? But what does he do with that? He's made one playoff appearance. Yes, he got to the national championship, and he came within a hair of winning the national championship. But that's it. Georgia has averaged the second best roster ranking under Kirby Smart with only one playoff appearance. And I've trash talked Georgia fans, and you know what their plan is? Their plan is to keep Kirby Smart until Nick Saban is gone, whether he dies or retires, whatever. That's their plan. Their plan is to wait out Nick Saban. I'm like, guys, if y'all think that Kirby Smart is such a great coach, you should ask Dabo Swinney, Ed Orgeron. Heck, like Gus Malzahn. Not very good coaches have won the national championship while Nick Saban has been coaching. That doesn't have to be your plan. But they won't accept it that Kirby Smart's not a good coach. I'm not saying he's not a good recruiter, because he is, but he's not a good coach. Here's an example. Mark Richt, right? Whenever he was at Georgia, what was he doing? He was winning SEC championships, double-digit win seasons, but never really getting to that next level as far as getting to the national championship. He goes over to Miami, doesn't do all that well. In comes Kirby Smart later on. He's having success with it's all about recruiting at Georgia. It doesn't matter who the coach is. Georgia is always going to average the top 10 recruiting class in the nation. Georgia is Georgia. Talent is in the state of Georgia. Kids are bred and raised to want to play for the Bulldogs. They need to find an actual good coach, because the recruiting will always be there. They just need to find the right coach. So I think, as far as the advantages go, overall, I'd have to give the check mark to Clemson, because Georgia hasn't proven to me that they can win the big game under Kirby Smart. Sorry, I went on a rant.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to the season, man, because you got a huge triple header, and we talked about those two games for opening week. Then coming off the following week, we got Oregon versus Ohio State. So so that's going to be really interesting with both of these teams, especially teams with creative offenses. Both of these teams who like to run the ball. And I want to see that new freshman quarterback with Tyler Thompson from Oregon. Oregon, they always really have good quarterbacks in their system. No matter who it is, if it's Mario Cristobal, if it's Chip Kelly, they always come out with some good quarterbacks. So that's another game that I'm also looking forward to see.
But here's the thing, man. I'm calling it right now. I think Ohio State will blast Oregon. I don't think Oregon. Why is Oregon being hyped this year? What have they done for people to hype them? The Pac-12, here's your good teams. I think Washington is being overlooked. Washington returns most of that team that should have went to the Pac-12 championship. Oregon got in by default. Tyler Shode, their starting quarterback, ended up, he started to fall apart and was benched. He transfers to Texas Tech. So Oregon really has questions at quarterback. Their defense is not very good. I know Washington's coach did leave, Chris Peterson, but Washington has most of that talent back. So I think Washington will be the cream of the crop in the Pac-12 North. And then in the Pac-12 South, Arizona State and USC. That's going to be a great battle. But Oregon, I think Ohio State will dust them, man. I'm just going to be honest. I think they're going to dust them.
Well, they got no more Justin Fields. They lost the cornerback Wade, and I think the quarterback that they did have Shu or whatever his name is, the quarterback that was last year. He transferred to Texas Tech.
Yep.
So I want to see what Thompson could do. I think he was ranked the number 4 quarterback on 247.com, a college football website, for all freshmen breaking through. And I'm looking forward to see what this guy could do. And you cannot forget about CJ Verdell. I think he can make some explosive plays for you. And the wide receivers, they don't blow your mind, but I think they got some wide receivers that can get the job done. I disagree with you with this one. I don't think Ohio State's it. I think Ohio State is going to win this game, but I don't think it's the way you think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be a blowout like that.
Well, there's three reasons why I think that will happen. Number one, well, I'm going to go back to last year. A lot of people didn't see it coming, but whenever Oregon and Oregon State played, I called the upset, and not because it was a rivalry game. It was because Oregon's run defense was bad, and Oregon State had one of the best running backs in the nation. So their run defense will be one factor. The second thing is questions at quarterback. There is no proven quarterback at Oregon. The third thing is it's going to be at the Horseshoe. People don't realize we haven't seen a full capacity stadium in over a year and a half.
But that's the same.
So it's going to affect him. And Ohio State, I know they lost Justin Fields and Trey Sermon, but they do have experience at running back coming back at Master Teague. And there's a big battle at running back. So if he falters, he will be replaced. And C.J. Stroud is looking really, really good as far as the quarterback for Ohio State. And Chris Olave, their best wide receiver, has opted back in. And don't forget about Wallace, man. He's a great receiver as well. Ohio State's offense is not going to miss that much of a beat. Quarterback might be a slight step back from Justin Fields, but they have the receivers and the depth at running back, and it's at the Horseshoe, man. I'm telling you, it's not going to be pretty.
I think those are some big shoes to fill, man. Ohio State is in the same position as Oregon is. No proven quarterback. But I just trust the veteran leadership for Oregon coming back this year.
Fair enough. What else you got, bud?
Well, those are the games that I am looking forward to see. Like I said, look out for the Ohio State and Oregon game, and then opening week we got Miami against Alabama, and then the big matchup Clemson versus Georgia.
I got some other games that people need to pay attention to, and they don't necessarily pop out, but I'm warning people right off the bat. Notre Dame at Florida State. This could be the first big upset of the year. Florida State is trending in the right direction, and Notre Dame fans are like, no, we're getting Jack Cohn from Wisconsin. We'll be back. We'll be fine at quarterback and blah, 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 blah. Look, Notre Dame, their defense lost a lot, and I mean a lot of their talent and experience from last year. And what did Notre Dame rely on last year? Defense. They were the only team in the playoffs that were not in the top 10 as far as total offense. And they were the only team in the playoffs that were in the top 10 in defense. So they relied heavily on their defense. This year, they're not going to have a very good defense as far as compared to last year. It might be okay, maybe not terrible, but it's not going to be great like last year. And that quarterback for Florida State, he's going to be out there trying to prove something after that injury and transferring from UCF, because people are forgetting. People are having short memories. This dude, Mackenzie Milton, who transferred to Florida State from UCF, he was part of that UCF team that was doing great things before Cincinnati was. Before Cincinnati took the mantle from UCF, Dylan Gabriel and UCF was owning the group of five. I'm going to call it conference because that's how it is, the Power Five and the group of five. They owned it. So this guy's going to have a chip on his shoulder, and I think Florida State's defense will take a step forward this year. I think this is the first big upset we'll see this year. And then one more game after that. It is a rivalry game, but I think it will affect conference standings and possibly playoffs. Iowa at Iowa State. Iowa State in the Big 12, they're going to be trying to knock off Oklahoma. Last year we saw them beat Oklahoma one time, but it was the wrong time. If you're going to beat Oklahoma, you need to beat them in the Big 12 championship. If you're going to lose to Oklahoma, do it in the regular season. So this year, if Iowa State cannot beat Oklahoma twice, lose in the regular season, beat in the Big 12 championship. If they lose to Iowa, that's going to hurt them tremendously, because I do think Iowa State does have their eye on a spot in the playoffs. They've been talking about it. Brock Purdy and Breece Hall. That offense is going to be amazing. And if they can knock off Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship, they could possibly take that spot from Oklahoma. But they have to get past Iowa. And then for Iowa, they're going to be contenders in the Big 10 West. I still have Wisconsin winning the Big 10 West, but I think Iowa is the second best team. And if some things can fall their way, including beating Iowa State, we could be talking about Iowa getting to the Big 10 championship at the end of the year. And once you get to the championship, if you win it, that could get you into that playoff spot. So I think that will affect it as well. Good games. I'm excited. So speaking of big games, now let's talk about a big team. One big team, and that is Georgia. And I know I went on a rant about Georgia earlier, but I'm telling you, this might sound crazy, and a lot of people have told me it's crazy because I've voiced it a lot. If Georgia doesn't at least get to the playoffs, I'm not saying get to the national championship, win a national championship, get to the playoffs. That's all I'm saying. If Georgia doesn't get to the playoffs, they need to fire Kirby Smart. I know that sounds crazy. I know. But like I said earlier, Georgia is going to have that recruiting that people are acting like Kirby is doing so great. Georgia always has the top 10, top 5 recruiting class. Maybe he's bumped it up a little bit. That 2 spot is very high. But what has he done with it? I think Georgia has a national championship caliber team this year. And I don't know why Georgia fans are selling themselves short, acting like, well, if we fire Kirby Smart, we might regress like Tennessee did. Tennessee never averaged a top 5, top 10 recruiting class. Sometimes they got there, but they didn't average it. You guys average it. Don't be scared to pull the trigger if Kirby Smart can't meet the standard of at least getting to the playoffs. You have coaches out there that could come to Georgia that can get it done. And the big name in my head, Matt Campbell at Iowa State. I'm telling you, Georgia, this is the move to make. If you don't make the playoffs, fire Kirby Smart and get Matt Campbell from Iowa State. You're too good this year to miss the playoffs.
I'm not gonna fire Kirby Smart, man. I just can't do that, man. I think he's had some success during his small tenure in Georgia. I think a lot of the players do respect them, and a lot of the players do want to come and play for Kirby Smart. But I think he has a lot of pressure on him, and the player that I think that has a lot of pressure on him is JT Daniels. You look at the last 2 national champions were from the SEC. You had Alabama and you had Georgia, led by their signal callers, which was led by their signal callers, Joe Burrow and Mac Jones. And I think JT Daniels, he has a lot of pressure on him this year, especially what is expected to get done for this team. And they started off the season with a very tough schedule, man. And that's against Clemson. So that's going to be a huge test for him. I like what they have over there. I like the running back that they have over there. The freshman, I forgot Zamir
White.
Yeah, Zamir White. They got George Pickens.
Are you talking about Georgia or Clemson?
No, I'm talking about Georgia.
Okay, yeah, Zamir White.
I'm talking about Georgia. Yeah, Zamir White, running back, coming back for his second year. I think, he's going to continue the trend when it comes to Georgia running backs. You had DeAndre Swift. You had Noshawn Moreno. You had Todd Gurley, Nick Chubb. And I think he's going to continue that running back trend when it comes to Georgia running backs. And I think the pressure is on JT Daniels. He has to show up, man. There's a lot of pressure on him. I think that if they don't make it to the playoffs, there's a good chance that he may get fired. If they make it to the playoffs and they don't even win it at all, I think Smart actually stays. But I like Georgia's chances, man, in the to win the national title, man. I think this is the best chance Kirby Smart has ever had. And I agree with you, man. This is the best talent this team has had. And I want to see Georgia air this ball out, man. Last season, I did not see that from Georgia. They didn't air the ball out like I thought they would. And they got to open up that playbook, man. And I need to see that, because if we don't see that, if they rely on the running game and the defense like they normally do, this Georgia team could be in trouble. Because right now, a lot of these SEC teams are on reload. You know, LSU, they're still reloading and building once again. You got Florida. I think they're going to take a step back. Alabama, I think it's a huge question mark. I know Auburn, they got some players returning. Bo Nix is coming back, but they also lost a lot too. So I think this is the best chance for Georgia to take a huge step over everybody. But don't sleep on Texas A&M, though. But as far as that being said, I think I think Kirby Smart stays, man. I think he'll at least get through the playoffs. I would be definitely surprised if he doesn't get to the playoffs.
So you're actually agreeing with me in the fact. See, the thing that I was saying earlier is Georgia fans weren't agreeing that if Georgia doesn't make the playoffs, he shouldn't be fired. I'm like, what are you talking about, Georgia? I'll be honest with you. Skill set, experience set, I think Georgia has the best team in the nation. The question is, will Kirby Smart coach them, out of the playoffs to where they don't make it? And that's my point. So you're actually agreeing with me. Georgia has the talent to where they should get to the playoffs. And JT Daniels, when he popped in last year and outwent Stetson Bennett, the dude was clutch. And we even saw in the bowl game whenever they played Cincinnati, whenever they were down, he led Georgia back and beat a very good Cincinnati team. I think Cincinnati proved that they deserved to be in the playoffs last year with that game against Georgia, because they were playing against a team that was playoff caliber, possible national championship caliber, because that loss to Florida earlier in the season, both of their losses early in the season was without JT Daniels. So Cincinnati played the best version of Georgia all year. And that's the Georgia that's coming into this year. And I know George Pickens, he got hurt. But, man, they got so many wide receivers over there. It's not even funny. And the thing is, George Pickens could actually end up playing towards the middle, maybe the tail end of the season. So if they're doing well and then you insert George Pickens, that's just going to be a boost. So, yeah, absolutely. Georgia, in my opinion, has to make the playoffs. If they don't make the playoffs, they have major coaching issues, and they need to think about making a change. So me and you are on the same page whenever it comes to that. Georgia, they have to make the playoffs. That's the bottom line. I just think it is what it is. Georgia fans can be grateful to have him, but when you have the talent that Georgia had, you put Nick Saban over at Georgia this year with the talent that Georgia has, they would steamroll everybody. They would be the 2019 and the 20. They would be the 2019 LSU and the 2020 LSU, 2020 Alabama. But since it's Kirby Smart, then it's like, well, we have the talent, but we still want to keep him because he's recruiting well. But even if we don't make the play, stop making excuses. Get to the playoffs this year. There's no more excuses. Bottom line. Sick of it. So let's transition into wrestling, because I haven't gotten to talk about wrestling in a while. And you're my guy when it comes to wrestling. I love wrestling. I've loved wrestling ever since I was 11, 12. The Attitude Era of the WWE is what really hooked me. I mean, I watched it a little bit before then, but that's what really hooked me. So, what's going on with Backlash and the storylines that's going on right now as we head to the next pay-per-view?
So all right, so really quick, starting July, the WWE announced this past week. AEW already announced it about there's earlier than that, but both wrestling promotions will actually start officially going on tour in July to live crowds around July. So the wrestling world is very excited about that. I'm excited about it as a wrestling fan. I just think the vibe is different.
Have you
And
ever been to one?
yeah, I've been to one. Every time they have one down here in the Bay Area. Oh, okay. I always am excited and look forward to these events. But as far as what's going on in the wrestling world right now, um, one of the huge storylines right now is the Roman Reigns situation. Roman Reigns, he's the current champion. As we all know, they said Daniel Bryan's contract actually ended last month, so they put in a storyline where Roman Reigns ends up beating Dial. If he beats Daniel Bryan, then he can't come back to SmackDown, and that's what exactly happened. He beat him, and it just happens that Daniel Bryan's contract expired last month, so he's actually a free agent now.
Mm,
As
I
far
think
as
AEW needs to scoop him up.
yeah, including Samoa Joe also,
Yep.
um, and also right now the situation with Roman Reigns. One of the storylines is um, um, Jay Uso's brother Jimmy Uso has came back, but he doesn't want to acknowledge and pay homage to Roman Reigns the way Jay Uso is paying homage to him right now. And I
Mm.
guess Roman Reigns has a problem right with that. Currently, right now, Roman Reigns he is actually feuding with Cesaro right now. Seth Rollins is actually involved in that feud right now, also where Seth Rollins happens to attack him every single time. So I don't know what they have left to set up for the next storyline that they have. But that's a storyline that's going on right now. Another storyline that's actually interesting right now um, is Bobby Lashley on Raw. He's currently the Universal Champion right now. So right now he is actually
Big
feuding.
push.
He's feuding with Braun right now, and he's feuding with Drew McIntyre right now. So he is currently the champion right now. It looks like they want to keep him the champion because nobody can't beat him, and he escaped in the triple threat matchup, a really good match also
Yeah.
on WrestleMania Backlash. So that's what's currently going on right now. There's no matches that's really set in place currently right now. So one of the things I have been following is if you watch A&E, the channel A&E, they've had documentaries of wrestlers like Booker T, Shawn Michaels.
Yes.
What another one today that they're actually premiering and airing today is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, the Ultimate Warrior. They're having a documentary on him actually tonight, so I'm actually gonna catch that. So that's one thing that I'm actually catching and following right now. I'm also intrigued in the free agents that's going on right now with Kurt Angle. He's rumored to be signed to AEW. You have
Wow.
you have Samoa Joe, who got released out of nowhere. A lot of people expect him to sign with AEW. Daniel Bryan, his contract's up too. So there's rumors flirting around with him in AEW. So and another huge news that also got confirmed also since they announced that the fans are coming back with the live crowds. SmackDown Live's first live crowd event, John Cena is set to make an appearance on that show that night.
Nice.
I don't know.
Like it.
Maybe they trying to boost the ratings up. I don't know.
Oh yeah, because here's the thing that I've noticed. So whenever the WWF, now WWE, bought out WCW, between that time period and now, there have been like up and coming promotions that had a good start, but they kind of fizzled out, and then another one would take their place. A good start and kind of fizzle out. The thing that I'm seeing that AEW is doing differently as far as keeping that initial momentum and keeping people interested is they're actually doing crossover shows with other promotions.
Yeah.
Why hasn't a company done that before? If you're going to have to compete with the WWE, you're going to have to make alliances. You're going to have to do crossovers. You're going to have to make, build up to something grand. And that's exactly what AEW is. They've affiliated with Impact Wrestling, TNA, and New Japan Wrestling. What's the other? There's one more, I believe. There's one other promotion that they've done a crossover. I can't think of it. But anyways,
I think it's the Ring of Honor.
Yes, Ring of Honor. They've done title versus title matches. They've just made it to where their brand looks so. And I got to give props to Impact, New Japan, and Ring of Honor because they're making sacrifices. They're getting exposure by doing this, but they're making sacrifices to build up AEW. So they'll have like a title versus title, and they'll allow the AEW champion to win, and it's a win-win because they get the exposure, but then they're building AEW as the premier brand, and they're trying to ingrain it in people's eyes that AEW possibly could end up being a better brand than WWE. I've never seen marketing and a game plan to take down the wrestling giant that is the WWE like what the AEW has done. I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing.
And they're low key kind of starting to bring the fans back to their live events also. So I think that's really good also.
Yeah. I think they're promoting, and the way they get exposure is just I'm inclined. Whenever Impact and TNA came out, they came out on fire, but I was like, I just don't. I just saw them recycling older WWE stars and former WCW stars, and then maybe a little bit of new talent. With AEW, they have some of those former stars, but they're also bringing in a lot of new people. And then they bring in Kenny Omega. That was a major good move right there.
He's actually one of the top faces in the brand right now. He's currently the champion.
I like. See, I didn't know much about Kenny Omega before the past couple of years. Whenever he got more exposure under AEW, now that I've watched his matches and his finisher, man. I don't know. I think he's probably better than any WWE star that I've seen as far as how he performs. And his gimmick is really not a gimmick. It's just maybe an exaggeration of his personality. Kind of reminds me of what the WWE Attitude Era was. So it's perfect. I love it. I think AEW is here for the long haul. What do you think?
Oh yeah. I definitely think also. I always tune into it every Wednesdays. I always try to catch up with the storylines that they have. So like right now, who's it? Kenny Omega. He's currently the champion right now. I don't think that he's feuding with anybody right now, but what was his name?
John Moxley.
John Moxley. He's teaming up with Eddie Kingston to go against the Young Bucks, who actually they turned heel to side with Kenny Omega. So so just to give you a quick lesson history for those people out there. So they used to be part of an infamous popular faction called the Bullet Club.
Yep.
So they call themselves the Elite now with Omega and the Young Bucks. So they're back together now. So and that's who John Moxley and Kingston's beefing with. You also got Chris Jericho and his faction.
Inner Circle.
Yeah, the Inner Circle going against a new star, a new heel that everybody hates, MJF, the Pinnacle.
Yeah.
So
tremendous heel.
Yeah, I think that's actually one of my favorite storylines right now with Jericho and MJF and the Pinnacle versus the Inner Circle. That's probably one of my favorite storylines to check out and look into right now. That one's really interesting and really fun. And I think MJF is probably one of like the best heels that I've seen in a while right now.
Yes,
like I think what they're doing with Roman Reigns right now is good right now. I think he should have turned heel a long time ago. And Reigns is doing a really good job at it. But just MJF's mic skills, oh my God, it's on point, man. Like Roman Reigns, I don't think Roman Reigns has anything on that, man. Like Reigns is a really good heel, but MJF, he just makes it a little bit better, man.
Dude, if they went head to head as far as mic skills, MJF would shred him. I mean, we go back to whenever they did a mic skill thing, John Cena against Roman Reigns. He forgot freaking lines. I mean, the dude is not good on the mic. MJF would shred him. One more thing before we get off here. One of the biggest things that popped out to me was the way that AEW is using Sting. Now, whenever I know Sting still had some wrestling left in him whenever he signed with TNA Impact, but I think they overused him, and I think they actually ended the Joker gimmick too soon. So that's another thing that makes me think that AEW is going to last a long time because they know how to use people like Sting. How do you feel about his role as far as the mentor role right now? I'm sure he'll get a match in, maybe once a year, kind of like The Undertaker. But right now, his role is like a mentor. How do you feel about that? Because I jumped off my couch whenever they brought him back, and I haven't done that in a long time.
I like that role also. It's kind of something similar to what Christian Cage is doing right now because he's also with AEW. But I think what Sting is, I think for him, he kind of wanted more freedom and leverage from what I know from the contract he signed with AEW. I know it's a long-term contract. He wanted to wrestle more. That's one of the reasons why he went to AEW because he was gonna get that opportunity. I think when he went to when he was with WWE, he didn't wrestle that much. Like his biggest high profile wrestling match was against I think was the match at WrestleMania against Triple H. I think he got the opportunity where he could wrestle more, and that's one of the reasons where he why he wanted to sign with the company and the brand.
Well, dude, let's be honest. The only reason WWE brought Sting back was to bury him. And that's exactly what – see, Vince McMahon, he acts like a child, man. He acts like because you wrestled for his competition that you were like had some type of personal beef against him. So the fact that he just brought Sting back to WWE to just bury him, that just – I never looked at Vince McMahon as far as not liking the guy because I thought he always made good business decisions, but that was not a good business decision. That was a personal choice. That was a personal vendetta. So ever since then, like, I'm just like, I don't know. I never looked at WWE the same after that because that was just a bury job. And I did not agree with that at all. but it is what it is. I'm just glad that Sting is with the right brand now.
Yeah.
But man, I appreciate you coming on the show. I don't know if you heard before you actually came on. I call you my co-host on here, right? But people don't realize the work that you put into this brand. You're pretty much involved with every, even if you're not on camera, you're involved with every show on this brand, whether it's promoting, editing, co-hosting, regular hosting, whatever. So I know you don't get shouted out as much as you should, man. So I really wanted to lift you up and give you a shout out and let people know this is the guy right here. You're looking at the guy that is the glue to this brand right here, Keo. He's the glue. And I wanted to let him know that we appreciate him a lot.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it, man. Yeah, it ain't easy, man.
Like you say, man, you're always on the grind.
Yeah, man. I always I love the brand, so anything for the brand. If it's MBS, let's talk about the show that I normally do every Wednesdays. If it's the MBS show, if I have to fill in for them or they need some work done, even if it's Bragging Rights, sometimes I'll jump on MBS Uncensored. And the summer doesn't get any easier because we got the NFL season coming up. I'm pretty sure True's wanting to launch the Stardom Syndrome show, the fantasy football show. So, and they got a couple more new shows coming up also. So, yeah, man, it's we got a lot of things coming up. So, just be a lookout for that. And it's always good to come on MBS Bragging Rights.
Dude, I appreciate it. Hey, do me a quick favor. We're about to end this, but whenever I end this, and this is not just to plug my YouTube channel, but I want you, whenever you get off here, go onto my YouTube channel, go to Blue Dude, and check out my newest video. I think I think you'll like it. It's a funny one. It's a funny one. So check it out whenever this is done, man.
All right.
It's a good one. Have a good night, bud. I appreciate you coming on. There he is, guys. The glue to the whole operation, Keo. He is the man, and he keeps me on point too. He lets me know whenever I'm not up to par on something. So I appreciate you, man. And I appreciate my audience. Y'all have a good night, and don't forget, we're not on Thursdays anymore. We're on Sundays at 10 p.m. And we did that with the college football season in mind. So we want to get raw reactions whenever that happens. So there's always a reason. Sundays at 10 p.m. Y'all have a good night, and don't work too hard this work week.